Right, Nana? So, guys, just confirm me in the chat that audio and all these things are clear. So, good morning, friends. Good morning, guys, and welcome. So, welcome to July 2020 PK Sir class, Prasanna Kumar Sir's live batch. Of course, as you know, it's a blended live. Many of you have already communicated the same. And so, as I told you, the first 5 days, the session is going to be live on YouTube. That's free for all, and it's open for all as well. So, before we start with the session, I want you guys to comment that the video is clear and the audio is clear. Comment, guys. So, I'll be commenting as well. So, be active in the chat section. I want you guys to be active and confirm me. Yeah, hello. Charan Gaud. Yes, sir. Clear, sir. Hello, Nana. We have Sarath. Clear, sir. Yes. I want everybody to confirm the same. Patel. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Neha Jyoti. Good morning, sir. All clear. Thank you. All. Everybody, start commenting. Fatafat. All good. Divya Vora. All good. Okay. Prerna Sharma. Good morning, sir. Clear. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, guys. Now, this is day one. So, CA final, SCM and PE, July 2020 batch. I welcome you all to day one. Okay. So, first, let's go with the basic details, guys. So, any of your friends are there, you can just invite them. 5 days, the session is going to be this way only. Okay. So that you'll have much more clarity. Right. Anyway, chalo, let's move on. Okay. Now, I'll just start with the basic details, guys. So, you know, our subject is going to be SCNP, that is Strategic Cost Management and Performance Evaluation. Yeah, Sudama Gupta, good morning, sir. Thank you. Patti Ravindra, PK sir Thopu. Okay, Nana. Right. And good morning as well. Anu, yeah, happy morning, sir. All are clear. Thank you so much. Right. So, this particular batch, July 2020, I particularly call it as version 2.0. So, what do you mean by this version 2.0? It means that it's better in all aspects. So, what do you mean by better in all aspects? See, already with our earlier batch, the earlier recorded batch, which is existing recording, already we have created a benchmark. There is no doubt in that. And apart from that, this batch, what I've thought, see, I personally believe in Six Sigma. So obviously, I hope some of you know the concept of Six Sigma. It's a general term. Even you guys have not heard about it, but just have a basic idea. So it's like getting better every single time. Okay, there is no stopping. So we should not always think in our life that okay, this is the best part that we have done, and there is no concept of getting better. So there is always a chance of getting better. So I just try to make it better in each and every area, be the notes, the power notes version 2.0. I'm working on it right now. It's not ready, guys. So many of you are messaging me, where is power notes 2.0? My dear friends, power notes 1.0 took nearly 1 year of my time, and I've written every page myself. So when you're writing a content, when it is not a copy paste work, it takes a lot of time, guys. And so because you have to think a lot, and then you have to analyze the stuff, and then you have to put it together, so it's gonna take time. But as and when it is ready, definitely you guys will be informed for sure, because definitely you guys will be following any of my social media platforms, right? So in that way you'll be informed. So it's going to be better in all aspects. With respect to I try to increase my experiments. Don't ask me, sir, in live how can we perform experiments? In face to face class I do experiments. Normally I do 3 experiments in a total batch, 3 to 4. This time I just try to increase that. How to do that, we'll try to plan it. I'm just working on it still. So better experiments to understand the concepts, and better explanation, better notes, and even the way the chapters are going to go, I've changed it completely, right? So in fact we're going to start with transfer pricing. Now what is the reason behind all that, I'll explain you later. And so let's go with the basic details. So the total session is going to be 180 hours, this version 2.2. Okay, that's my guesswork right now. It may go all the way to 200 hours. So this is point number 1. Point number 2, we gonna completely stick on to ICAI sources. When I say ICAI sources, it includes everything. What do you mean by that? You have study material. All of you know that, correct? We have study material. Apart from study material, we have different sources, like for example, MTPs, RTPs, additional case studies, additional case scenarios, additional questions, plus I'm working on international case studies that also will be included. Of course, it will be last. By the time I'll be working on the power notes of international case studies, and that will also be included. Okay. Now, guys who are already have purchased my pen drive classes or Google Drive classes in the last month or last but 1 month, you guys don't worry. Again, I'm telling you, once these international case studies are recorded, it will be given access to you as well. Okay, so that's the mindset of your PK Sarana. So don't worry about that. Even you will be getting access as well. So with respect to the link that I've sent you, in that a folder will be added. So you'll be getting access as well. So no problems whatsoever. Even for you, the total number of hours is going to be 180 to 200 once I add them. Okay. So, sir, this is what you need to pass the exams. Yes. So to pass the exam, see, our target is not just to pass the exams. Our target is to get 70 plus. So what's our target? 70 plus. Now, in the first day itself, I don't want to make things complicated. So to get this 70 plus, what are we going to do? Very simple. You're gonna follow power notes of PK sir plus what? Class, of course, of PK sir. Many people don't understand that class plus power notes, it has been integrated that way. See, let me tell you one thing. First of all, what is power notes? Many people don't have this idea. So whenever, that's the reason I was a little bit skeptical when people have asked me to sell the power notes itself, because I know that it's not something that is created for self-study purpose. Let me explain you first of all what do you mean by power notes and why it has been such a big hit. First point is it short notes? No, absolutely no. Is it summary notes? The answer is absolutely no. That is not the intention. See, if it is short notes or summary notes, obviously I would have gone naming it as short notes, isn't it, or summary notes. Why did I name it as power notes? So there is an intention behind that. So what is that intention? So power notes means, say for example, you have a 4-page content. I want all of you guys to listen this carefully, because there has been a lot of misinformation going on. The 4-page content has been reduced down to 1 or 1.5 page. It depends upon the content. Okay, generally we call it as a short notes if this is the case, but here that's not the case. It has been reduced from 4-page or 5-page content to 1 or 1.5-page content in such a way that you will read this 1.5-page content or 1 page, you will revise it, whereas at the same time you will be able to reconvert this back to 4-page content. Please understand, guys, use your common sense. When a case study answer is for 4 pages and we have reduced it all the way down to 1 or 1.5 page, and we read that 1.5 page, citing it as a short notes for case study, and you remember that one page or 1.5 page, and then you write it in the exam, are you going to get marks? Absolutely not, because the answer is for 4 pages. And if you write 1 or 1.5 page in the examination and you say that I want to get marks, it's not gonna work. So then what is that we need to do? Pretty simple. You need to write 4-page answer. But it's very difficult for me to read 4 or 5-page answer for each and every case study when the number goes all the way to 50, everything put together. And case scenarios, if you add, it's gonna go for higher numbers. So for all these questions, I got to remember all those theory that has been given in a rigid form in your ICAI sources, and then remembering it, you need to revise it many a times and then take it into the examination hall. See, the problem why we fail in CA is not because CA final students don't study. Every single CA final student does hard work. He or she basically 100% puts in 100% effort and studies for 8 hours or whatever it is. They do everything. The problem comes here. It's not about reading. It's not about studying for 10 hours. It's about retaining. Whatever you have read, you need to remember and take it into the examination hall. That's where people do the mistake. So the point here is how to remember and how to take it into the examination hall. That's why we do all this sort of hard work. Are you able to understand? So that is where these power notes have come into picture. Now you can ask me, how did I actually work it out? When I was preparing for civils, this thought has come into me, because I was thinking like, you have 1,000 pages of content, for different subjects, and in civils basically what happens is that every single day 40 page of content will be added for your kind information. There will be a static portion which itself will run around 1,000 pages, and apart from that you have current affairs portion, which every single day, mind it, every single day a new content will be added, which will be at least 40 pages. Now looking at this scenario, you can just imagine how much of sheer content we'll have when we are trying to write the exam. So there I was just thinking about the same. So how is that I can really work it out so that I can remember and retain into the examination hall? So that was one of the reason why I got selected for interview as well, and I went for the UPS interview. Anyway, so the point here is, you need to understand one thing, that we need to remember what we study. It's not about studying, it's about remembering. Again and again, I'm telling you, it's about remembering and taking it into the examination hall. So that's where these power notes have come into picture. So the intention is, you have a content, we're gonna cut it short in such a way that again it can be reconstructed back to its original form. You will read 1 or 1.5 page only, you will revise that only, but when you go into the examination hall, it has been constructed in such a beautiful way that you can reconstruct it back to 4 pages, and you will write 3 or 4 pages in the examination, thereby you'll get full marks. So that's the whole intention. I hope it is clear. Okay, chalo, let's move on. Prerna Sharma. Nana, you better message me personally, I'll explain you that. Yeah, you can see the number here, 9246946444. You can WhatsApp me or Telegram me. Okay. Hemalata Rajeshwaram, very good morning, sir. Thank you so much. Ganesh Rati, are guys, you please message me personally, guys. All your doubts, I'll try to clarify you over there. Okay, there are so many doubts, even I have to clarify. Right? Chalo. Anyway, so that's the thing. Now let's move on. Okay, what else? Our subject name is SCM and PE. What makes it really special? And why many people, especially with respect to Group 2, are considering this as the most challenging paper? I would rather tell you guys that this is very important. Why, sir? Because it's your subject? No. No. FR and SFM are very important, considering them to be the first papers of your respective groups. Unless you write these papers well, psychologically it will have a lot of impact on the remaining papers. If you have written these papers better than what you have, probably prepared, then definitely you will be getting a lot of positive impact on the remaining papers, that is DT, ITT, whatever it is, even the optional paper, the elective paper. So from that perspective, this is very important, the most important paper, because psychologically it affects you. Got it? Right. Next, the second point is, why it is considered so challenging? Because it is neither a theory paper nor a practical paper. The old syllabus AMA used to be practical, there is no doubt in that, but not the new one. In very layman terms, I can tell you this way. All of you guys are from CA Inter, right guys? Yes or what? You can keep on chatting here. I want it to be interactive, okay? All of you guys are from CA Inter, right? In CA Inter, you remember the subject paper called costing? There's a paper for costing, correct? And there's also a paper called strategic management. You remember that? In a layman terms, now this is not the exact meaning, but in layman terms, your costing of your CA Inter or IPCC plus strategic management put together is nothing but your SCM and PE, that is strategic cost management and performance evaluation. So that now that you'll have an idea of what the subject is going to be. So it is neither theory nor practical. Then what it is? It is application oriented theory paper. Sir, what do you mean by this application oriented theory? You're saying that it's neither theory nor practical. What do you mean by application oriented theory? It means that it's a unique blend of theory and practical, where, see, normally what we used to, sir, theory question means what are the features of what are the differences between costing and financial accounting, something like that. Point number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll try to remember it, we'll try to read it again and again, reproduce that in the examination hall. What is this? What are the features of so and so chapter? What are the features of labor or something like that? See, whatever it is. So it's a simple straightforward theory is what we got used to so far. Second thing is problems. Of course, we are king of problems. We can solve any number of hours continuously the problems, and it really gets into that interest factor, because it's always interesting to solve sums, right? Whereas this particular paper, SC and PE, is neither theory nor practical. It's like application oriented theory, in the sense there will be a theory which you have to study, understand, digest it. You got it? Again, I'm telling you, listen carefully. This is the most easiest paper, provided if you really understand how to tackle this. Okay, now listen carefully. Application oriented theory means I try to read a particular content, understand it, digest it. There's a lot of importance to these words, understanding and then digesting them. And then in a whole together different scenario, there will be a total different case study or a case scenario. Case scenario means smaller one, case study means bigger one, a bigger question. I'm talking about purely theoretical question, not normal theory question, application oriented theoretical question. So he will ask you, he will tell you that there is a company, so and so issue is there, blah blah blah, and I'm facing so and so problem, how to solve it. To solve that particular problem, you need to write a theory answer. Mind it. To solve that particular problem, it's not like you're solving numbers here. You need to write a theory answer totally. Sentence by sentence, it will be theory, but it's not a fixed theory like 4, 3, 5. I mean, whatever the bullet points that you have got, recollecting them. That's not the case over here. You need to apply your mind. The theory, what you have already learned, you need to apply it into the particular situation. It's just like solving here, problem solving, rather than here you are solving a kind of a theory question, and then you need to write the sentences like 2 page, 3 page, 4 page, 5 page theoretical answer. And that too, it is not something where it already the answer has been presented and then you just need to by heart it and then reproduce. That's not the case. That's what makes it challenging. It is challenging. Why? Because it is new for us. We are facing it for the first time. Problems are not new for you. Theory is not new for you, so you guys are comfortable with that. This kind of shift is something that is new, because I was teaching for ACCA, so it's not something new for me, because I got used to it, and that's why I'm very comfortable when there was a shift from AMA to old syllabus. But that's not a case for everybody. You understand the point? So that is something new. Because it is something new, and because many people lack the approach towards this sort of a new blended subject, and that's where they face the difficulty. Got the point? So please try to understand that this is application oriented theory paper. Chala, fantastic. So what else we have got? Okay, we have some fantastic chapters over here. I'll just run you through chapter names, and after that what we'll try to do is that we'll try to analyze how the previous examination papers are, and we're gonna analyze our strategy, how we're gonna prepare for this particular SC1P. Okay, anyway, right guys, so now see here, I'll just run you through. Okay, these are all the chapters names you have got. You need not write anything. I'll be my students. I'll be sending you all those. What do you call? I'll be communicating to you, and then I'll be sending you all the materials. Right now, it is just a first day session. No need of any material right now. So just listen. So you've got all these chapters. We have budgeting. Case study is a separate chapter, which will be the last chapter. Cost management for specific sector. Cost management techniques. You have decision making. You have divisional transfer pricing. And you have introduction to strategic cost management. You got lean system and innovation, modern business environment, performance measurement and evaluation, pricing decisions, standard costing, strategic analysis of operating income. Just get the feel of the chapters. Okay, just try to know that okay, these many chapters are there. So this is your whole syllabus: budgetary control, case study, cost management for a specific sector. You have decision making, divisional transfer pricing. You have got intro to strategic cost management, lean system and innovation, modern business environment. Then we have got performance measurement and evaluation, pricing decisions, standard costing, and strategic analysis of operating income. Now, what are all the problematic areas in this whole syllabus? There are 3 chapters: decision making, transfer pricing, and standard costing. See, is this completely problematic? Again, the answer is no. In new syllabus, the questions are different. 50% will be numericals, 50% will be theoretical. Again, every single answer that you're going to write. That's what makes new syllabus really special. Okay. Now, before we get to this syllabus, I'll just show you some important understandings that I've got from previous examinations. Thereby, we'll devise our strategy and accordingly, we'll move on. Let's start with our first attempt. Now, I want you guys to listen carefully. Now, see here. Ready guys, all of you? Chalo Nana. Now. Okay, now see here guys. This is your first attempt, May 2018. First new syllabus examination. We need not get into all these questions. We'll just go to the summary area. Now see here. Look at the summary. I want you guys to carefully concentrate over here. Very important. After that, we're going to start with our first chapter. What do you see here? I've divided the whole content into two areas: problematic chapters, theory areas. Okay. If you can see, problematic chapters, we have got DM. DM means decision making, MC means marginal costing, standard costing, transfer pricing. Theory areas, total productive maintenance. Okay, if you are listening this for the first time, don't worry about the chapter names. Just remember that they are theory areas. Activity based costing, total quality management, life cycle costing. Look at the marks distribution. The problematic areas got 80 marks and the theory areas got 40 marks. For your kind information, the total number of marks is 120. Put together choice. Putting together choice, you got 120 marks. What is the verdict? It's a comparatively easy paper. This is your first attempt. First attempt. Remember this in your mind. Problematic chapters 80, theory chapters 40. Okay, now, very next attempt, November 2018. We'll not be getting into each and every question. Let's look at the final summary. What is the summary, Nana? Friends, what is the summary over here? What is the summary? Problematic chapters, marginal costing and decision making, that is relevant costing over here, 10 plus 10, standard costing 10. And then what else you have got? Transfer pricing 10, 40 marks. Theory areas, life cycle costing, target costing, activity based costing, total quality management, beyond budgeting, put together 80 marks. You see that? There was a complete tectonical shift between your first attempt and the second attempt. Complete change. Complete changeover. This was the first shock for people who are writing new syllabus. This is where suddenly they started feeling that new syllabus is difficult. Because there was a tectonical shift. It is not a normal change. As you can see, it's exactly opposite. 80-40, 40-80. The very second attempt. And you should be able to change, right? Suddenly you cannot just like that change. All of a sudden, when 80 marks, it was asked for theory dominated areas. This is where the first hit happened. You got this, guys? Now keep this in mind. So this is November 2018. So far we have seen May 2018 and November 2018, correct? You have some understanding right now. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, so May 2019. Okay, forget about all these questions and all. We'll discuss it later. We'll do the analysis part. Look at the conclusion. Now you guys tell me what happened in May 2019. The first change was only 7 chapters were touched, which means there were so many chapters which were not at all touched. That was another major shock. Again, there was a shock in November 2018. All of a sudden, from 80 marks, 80 is to 40, it went for 40 is to 80. That was a shock. Very next attempt, there was only 7 chapters that has been touched upon. There were so many chapters which has not at all been touched. Shock number 1. 2. Look at the distribution of marks. Problematic chapters. You see this standard costing 20. I've taken 20 over here. There was a question from decision making. It was not direct. It was indirect. So if you want, you can add here. Even in that case, it's going to be 40 and 80. I've put here as 20 and 100. Even in that case, what you can understand, 80 marks at the least came from theory areas. You see that? It's visible in front of your eyes. Okay, standard costing and decision making over here. Pricing decisions, LCC, life cycle costing, EMA, environmental management accounting, learning curve, and value chain. See, guys, you are listening this class for the first time, so you don't remember the chapter names. Chalta hai. Just try to remember that, okay, theory areas, itna sa marks aaya. Right, these many marks have come for theory areas. These many marks have come for problematic areas. So that when I show you how question paper, how the marks have been asked in the question paper, you will come to a conclusion. Now, that's a confirmation only. Na? Ultimate confirmation is question paper. So many students are commenting me. Commenting on they've been messaging me and all that, sir. You have analyzed a paper in this particular way. You say that always the theory is the dominating factor. And there are so many of my friends who were telling that, and other faculties also, who said that, sir, it's a problematic. And both of your analysis are completely different. I would rather say a simple answer for that. Look at your question paper. As simple as that. So I say something, somebody else says something, different opinions. Why to get confused? What is ultimate proof? Question paper. Do we need any other proof better than that? Guys, Esa what? You can comment as well. Yes, ultimate proof is what? Question paper. So, third attempt, as you can see, absolute domination of theory. Got it? Any more doubts? Nothing. Last attempt. So that's November 2019. Where is this? Yeah. Let's go for the last attempt, guys. Okay. This is where there was another new things has happened. See, every attempt he's trying to play something new. What's the speciality of this attempt? ICA has asked 80% of the questions from these areas: steady metal, RTP, MTP, similar models. So, which means 80% you are safe. 20% has been asked from international sources. Got the point? That's what made November 2019 attempt a little bit special. But again, is there a reason for you guys to worry? Why? Forget about this 20% here. Let's stick on to it is 80%. Our steady metal, our RTPs, our MTPs. Let's perfectly learn what has been given by our ICA, because that's our Bhagavad Gita, that's Quran for us, that's Bible for us. Let's learn to that particular extent. It's enough. Why to do too much of hangama? After learning the entire ICA sources, after revising it for 3 to 4 times, still if you have time, yes, we will go for something else. You know, additional questions or something. First, let's be perfect with what we have. 80% of the marks is there in our hands. What else we need? You got it? And remaining 20% also, once you have conceptual knowledge with you, can't you try at least? You can. So again, look at the analysis. This is the summary. All of you guys, look at the summary. 20 marks from problematic chapters, 100 marks from theory areas. And look at this particular chapter over here, PME. You got 50 marks. This is one area where you guys have to be cautious, especially inform your friends. Nana, a chapter which comes for 50 marks, PME is such a kind of chapter where every attempt on an average 30 marks plus is coming. I've seen people spending 70 hours on a chapter called decision making, which comes for 10 marks on an average out of 120. And you spend some 10 to 15 hours or hardly 20 hours on a chapter that comes for 50 marks. I really don't understand what is the basic logic behind such a kind of preparation. And this is what I would rather call it as wrong preparation. And probably this is the reason why you have yourself made the subject very difficult. See, guys, this I take it as a platform, and I'll tell you, you guys are CA final, you're almost CAs. Okay? You're just one step behind. You have the matured brain with you. Somebody need not teach you what is correct and what is wrong. You can assess yourself. You need not depend even on your friend as well. That's why I've told you in many of my sessions, I always say the more individual you are, the better it is. Take advice, but just don't blindly go for it. You have your own individual. You are the best judge. You are the best. So when you have some sort of analysis, you are the best. But just sit calm and then try to analyze what's happening. Okay, this is the question paper. This is how the marks have been asked. Okay, these are all the areas where I have to concentrate. See, will I study a chapter which is coming for 30 to 50 marks, or will I study 70 hours? I'll be wasting my time and then studying a chapter which has come for 10 marks. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, spending 70 hours on a chapter is not wrong. You spend. Then proportionately for a 50 mark or a 30 mark chapter, how many hours you have to spend? Obviously, it should be at least 70 hours, right? 15 hours, 20 hours, really? And then you expect yourself to pass? You got it? I'm telling this with a lot of pain, Nana, because lot of pain. Let me be very honest, because 60% of my sales, I feel very sad to say 60% of my sales, or people who are buying my classes, I mean, for the second time, in the sense, already they've bought some classes. Every time I get a message saying that a student says that, sir, I've already wasted 14K, 15K. So again, I cannot afford, but still I have to buy the classes because I cannot write the exam otherwise. That's my situation. You please give me discount. Really, I feel very bad and I don't have any other choice, but I give them discount because I don't have a choice. How can I say no? It's such a kind of emotional scenario. You understand the point? So this is the proof for you. So now this is very clear. No more doubts throughout the session hereafter. Means, what are my priority areas? Theory. Theory is the area which I'm going to concentrate. And of course, problematic areas, we're gonna give it how much importance must be given, that much we'll give. Not too much and not less. Are you able to understand? That's the whole plan of action. So I hope this particular proof is more than enough. So which means from this, what we need to understand is that we're gonna concentrate on theory and problematic. Of course, there are only 3 problematic chapters. We'll give them equal importance. To put it even more better, theory will be given first priority. And this will obviously be what? Given second priority, considering the way questions are asked in the exam. Got the point? Fantastic. Okay, having said that, everything is clear. Right. So we're gonna start with our first chapter now. And our first chapter is going to be transfer pricing. There are so many other things, guys. The basics of costing, blah blah blah, because many of you guys would have forgotten your IPCC. All these things I'm gonna cover. Your IPCC first chapter basics of costing will also be covered. But when I'll cover, then I'll cover, because there is a way of taking forward things, and that's the way I'm gonna go with it. So without wasting any further time, enough of all the things that I've told you. Throughout the session, I'll explain you so many other things. The tips for the exam, that, this, and all. Everything throughout the session of this 180 hours, we're gonna see. Right now, let's start with our session. Now, okay, meanwhile, you guys can comment. I would like to reply. Surya Pavan official. Good morning, sir. Yes. Yeah. Some of you have commented that it is from IPC. Yeah. Of course. Chalo. Guys, I hope everything is clear. Anything you guys want to communicate, you can communicate now. You can just type. Ready? We're going to start with our first chapter, and that is transfer pricing. There is a reason behind why I'm starting with this chapter. Because those who have come from CA Inter IPC, straight away, if I go with the theory chapter, you will not be able to bear that change. Is that clear? So therefore, I'll go with such a kind of chapter which is interesting, at the same time problematic as well as theoretical. So it's a perfect start for us. Are you able to understand? And then slowly I'll go for one theory chapter, then I'll go for one problematic chapter. Theory, problematic, will have a perfect blend so that we'll not get that monotony. You got the point? And of course, as you can see, and as you would have heard of about me already, that I personally believe in logics and believe in conceptual explanation. Without that, you don't get that satisfaction of learning something. So therefore, we're gonna go in that particular way. I hope everything is clear. Right, guys? Okay. Ganesh Rathi, how many times you're gonna comment the same year? Okay, you can personally message me. I'll clarify all your doubts. Okay, I know what's the doubt that's running in your mind. Okay, chalo. Now, transfer pricing. Okay, now see you guys. Lot of content that I try to provide you here will be a content that you won't find it in ICS study material. Is that clear? So therefore, what you guys need to do is that it's better you write it as a notes. First day, okay, it's a little bit. I'll try to give you a little bit of freedom. But second day onwards, you need to write notes compulsorily. When I say you need to write something, you need to write something. And people who have purchased classes already from me, okay, you guys know the contact number is 9246946444. There is no website for us right now. The website was under construction. Okay, earlier it was there, but now it was under construction. Unfortunately, because of COVID-19, I'm not able to find those guys. I'm not able to follow them up, and they are taking their own time. So probably, if I'm not wrong, it should take few more weeks to get it ready. So therefore, we don't have any payment gateway. So right now, if you want to purchase the classes, there is only, I mean, the classes, there is only single source for you right now, directly through me. Through third persons, that's multiple sources are there. There are so many websites who are, selling our classes. Now, if it is directly through me, so that you'll get the best price, obviously, then there is only one choice for you. That is 9246946444. You either WhatsApp or your Telegram. I'll give you a Google Pay or Phone Pay number. Accordingly, you pay your fee. You send me the screenshot. You get the confirmation immediately. Classes will either be sent, and of course, now it's a new recording, so time to time your classes will be sent for you. 3 days once, like that. Whatever the classes that has been recorded. I hope this is clear. So don't fall for misinformation. There is only one number, and that number will be dealing if at all you want to buy the classes. Is that clear? I make it very clear. Or any other doubts, anything you want to talk to me, subject related doubts, blah blah blah, everything, one single number. And that number is 9246946444. I make it very clear. Got it? Chalo, fantastic. Now let's move on. Yenumula Saidulu, again, message me. Okay? Any doubts with respect to Naukar you have got, you guys need to message me personally. I will answer. You got it, guys? Right, chalo, fantastic. Now, see, Anana. Shall we get on to the session? Any doubts? Message me personally with respect to Naukar. I hope I make myself very clear. Right, Saidulu? Okay, chalo. Yeah. Number once more. Sabarinath, buddy, it's visible there. You can see there. You see there in red color. PK sir classes, WhatsApp or call 9246946444. You can see it's permanently there, right? Beside me, I think right side of me or left side of me. I'm not able to understand. I think right side of me. Okay, you can see the number over here, right? Chalo. Sir, can CA final old syllabus students attend this class? Specifically for new syllabus, but still I cannot say completely irrelevant for old syllabus. But yes, it is relevant. I would rather say 60 to 70% it's relevant, because OR part we will not be taking it up. Is that clear? Of course, there are two areas, learning curve and linear programming, that will be touched, but remaining part of OR, that is operational research, will not be taken. I hope I make myself very clear. Kumar, yeah. Okay, right, chalo, let's move on. Okay, now, see guys, understand one thing. Whenever we start with any chapter, the first and foremost important thing, guys, here all of you, the first and foremost important thing is to understand the history of it, so that you'll understand why a particular concept has come. Many people doesn't give enough importance for this. Otherwise, that's one of the major reasons why you don't understand the concept the way it has to be understood. Okay, let's try to understand this. Transfer pricing, how this has come into picture. So let's try to understand a brief history of it. So once upon a time, the way the business was being done was centralized way of doing business. You know what do you mean by centralization? You'll have you'll have the head office, and everything will be controlled by the head office. All the branches, departments, and divisions, they will just say, you do this, you do that, and this is what you have to do, this is what you have to do. So I'm just like a guy who just need to listen as a branch manager, as a divisional manager. So I need to listen and follow the orders given by the head office. So everything is decided by the head office. Branches or departments or divisions, anything that you have got, they're just told to follow the orders from the head office. You got it? Now, if there is something like this where you are not given any sort of independence and you just need to follow what has been, ordered by your head office, what happens basically? Because of this, there was no motivation for managers, and many of them were inefficient. See, you try to give me a work. You give me some fixed salary, say for example. Whether I perform it efficiently or not, you're going to give me the same money, same salary. If I perform really better, there is no recognition. If I perform really bad, nobody is going to scold me or nobody is going to punish me. Then why would I perform better? Human tendency. You got it? So this is very important, guys. The behavioral aspects, we call it as 2020, the 20th century, especially in all the concepts, I mean, all the subjects, whether it is finance or costing, behavioral aspects is most important area. What do you mean by behavioral aspects? It means understanding. It means understanding how a human being will respond. Tomorrow, this is going to be the major challenge for you when you get into job also. When you try to put a rule, when you try to get some sort of system into place, the first and foremost challenge for you, it's going to be the human being. How is he going to respond? And that we call it as behavioral aspects. Here, we are studying the behavioral aspect only. Because of centralized way of doing business, I have these problems called behavioral aspects. And as a result, because whether I perform really well or I don't perform, nobody is going to question me. Why should I perform? It's as simple as that. So majority of the managers, they weren't performing. Few people, they will be there now who are honest to themselves, who are like ethical persons, they are honest to themselves and stuff like that. They were performing well. Overall performance of the company was positive only. They were getting profit. There is no doubt in that. But it was like plus and minus put together. You were getting net plus. Are you able to understand? Plus and minus put together. Some managers were plus, some managers were minus. Wholeheartedly, I mean, as a company as a whole, it was plus only. But still, when the company started analyzing things, they have thought that, okay, fine, these inefficient managers, if they were to perform a little bit more, things would have been a lot better, is what their final opinion was. Got the point? Okay. Now, you guys tell me, if you ever face a situation like this in your life situation, what will you do? You give me the answer. You find that there are so many managers who are not at all performing well. Okay, what would you do? What would be your solution? Right. Anyway, simple. Now see, listen carefully, guys. So this was hurting the profits of the company, obviously, and the solution is decentralization. I hope you guys know what do you mean by decentralization. What do you mean by decentralization? Giving power to what? Your respective divisions or branches or departments. Means what? Earlier, when it was centralized way of doing business, head office used to order what these departments or branches have to do. You do this, you do as I say, right? But when it comes to decentralization, that's not the case. Head office will not involve in day-to-day activities of the branch. I won't involve. I will not at all disturb you. Divisional autonomy is given. This is a keyword. Now, remember one thing, guys. Keywords are very important. What do you mean by keywords, sir? This is very, very important. Now, I want you guys to listen carefully. Listen carefully, guys. Yeah, listen carefully. Now, keywords are pretty damn important. Why? Because your paper, when it is being corrected by your examiner, you will get marks based on keywords only. So when you are preparing, you can construct your own sentences and all those things. You can do it independently on your own. Yes, but ensure that keywords are present. When an examiner is correcting your paper, keywords will be running in his mind in the background, and he sees those keywords over here, then immediately he gets satisfied and he'll give you marks. Keywords are the things that's gonna get you marks. So very important. So here the keyword is divisional autonomy is given. What do you mean by that? It means I have given you powers. I means head office. You means the respective branch managers, divisional managers, departmental managers. I have given you individual powers to take decisions on your own. That whole perspective, we call it as divisional autonomy. You got the point? Now, so divisional managers are given independence to take their own decisions. Means, see here, head office will just measure their performance based on some parameters and accordingly and act accordingly if the performance is good. What do you mean by this? So the solution was decentralization. So what I've done is, now listen to this story. Head office has said to all the branch managers or divisional managers this way. See, buddies, I'm not gonna involve in your day-to-day activities. Okay, you're free to do yourself. You take decisions on your own, you're independent, you can feel as if you're a separate company as well. However, I'll give you targets. This particular quarter one, for this 3 months, this will be your profit target. You should try to achieve this particular target. In case if you achieve, this much is going to be your bonus or incentive. In case if you don't achieve, then there will be no bonus. Now tell me, what will be the human psychology? Obviously, I want to get bonus, isn't it? To get bonus, I need to achieve the target, whatever it is, profit or return on investment, whatever it is, whatever the target that has been given by the company. So what I'll be doing eventually, I'll try to run behind it. I'll try to become more and more efficient, and thereby it's good or bad for the company. Absolutely good. Absolutely good. So bonus or incentives are given based on your actual performance. This bonus or incentives are the motivation for the divisional managers to perform efficiently. And this whole situation leads to a concept called transfer pricing. Now, how's that? We'll try to understand. So, right now, did you understand the whole story over here? Now, I'll try to repeat it, guys, one more time. Just a second. Yeah. Now, listen, guys. So, there was a centralized way of doing business, and all the managers, most of them were inefficient because whether they work or don't work, anyway, they're gonna get the same money, same salary. So, therefore, there was no motivation for them to work really efficiently. And because of this, the profits of the company were getting low, and the companies have figured out a solution, and that solution was decentralization. So in decentralization, basically what happens is that I have given individual powers to my respective departments or divisions. I told them that you are free to take your decisions. I'm not going to involve, rather, but there is only one condition, and that condition is I'm going to give you targets for a quarter or for a month or whatever it is, depends upon the company. And I'm not going to involve in your day-to-day decisions. You are free to take that, but after some point of time, I will try to take your actual performance, that is your actual profit. Say for example, if profit is the performance measurement system versus the budgeted profit, the target profit which I gave you, and based on that, I'm going to measure your performance, and based on that, I'm going to give you bonus or incentives. Now this bonus or incentives will be your motivation factor to work really efficiently, and thereby my problem is solved. Now all the managers are working efficiently, my profits have gone up, I am very happy as a company. Got it? This leads to the concept called transfer pricing. Now how is that possible? Let's try to understand. Now listen carefully, guys. How this whole story led to creation of a concept called transfer pricing. Very simple. Now see, guys, listen carefully. Very important. Now only you're going to understand the essence of the chapter. See, in any company, guys, you take any company, there will be two divisions: supplying division, receiving division. Name itself tells you. What do you mean by supplying division? I will supply the goods, right? What do you mean by receiving division? I will receive the goods. Or you can also call this as a purchasing division. Purchasing division, because it will purchase its products from the previous division, that is supplying division. Okay. You can also call it as transferor division, the one who transfers, transferee division, the one who receives the transfer. There are so many names. We'll go with this name: supplying division, receiving division. Now, supplying division produces its output. We're gonna call it as intermediate product, that is IP, because it is obviously not finished good. Neither it is raw material nor it is finished good. So what supplying division basically has done, it has received raw material from some supplier, correct? And this supplying division has worked on that raw material, converted that into a product. It is not a final product, but it is some sort of a product. Neither it is finished good nor it is raw material. Therefore, we call it as intermediate product. What is the name? Intermediate product. Intermediate means you can understand from the name itself. Now, what was your solution on it eventually? Decentralization. What do you mean by decentralization? Decentralization means you have given individual parts to the respective divisions. Divisional manager. So supplying division manager has got powers. Receiving division manager has got powers. Correct? Fantastic. Now, listen carefully, guys. When it comes to this decentralization solution, I just told you that these particular divisional managers has got their respective powers, and they're not going to involve in day-to-day decision making scenario. And simply what they're going to do is that they're going to just ask you, they're going to give you some target profit, and after 3 months they're going to compare your actual profit with the target profit. Based on that, bonus will be given. Correct? This you remember? Fantastic. Now, how am I going to calculate the profit? See, for ultimately the receiving division, say for example it is selling its finished goods to the ultimate customer, then it will make profit because it's having real sales. Receiving division, let's imagine that there are only two divisions. So receiving division will directly sell the goods, that is finished goods, to the outside market. Are you able to understand? In that case, I'm going to get real sales, which means I'm going to get real profit. Now that works, correct? But when it comes to your supplying division, is it selling to outside market? Now let's imagine a scenario where most of the times, supplying division will not be selling to the outside market. Are you able to understand? Then what is the scenario? Will I get real sales? No. When I don't get real sales, I just transfer my output to receiving division. How can I calculate profit in my books? If I can't calculate profit, if there is no possibility for me to calculate profit, then how am I going to get a scenario where you'll be assessing my performance by comparing the target profit with actual profit, and the way you're going to give me bonus? It's not possible. Therefore, I've created a scenario called transfer pricing. Okay. Therefore, I've created a scenario called transfer pricing. Okay, now what do you mean by the transfer pricing? It's an artificial price over here where I will allow my supplying division to sell its output. In reality, it's not selling to any, what do you call, the outside guys or something like that. It's not selling to anybody else. You understand my point? So, supplying division is transferring it internally to the receiving division at a price. Supplying division is transferring it internally to receiving division at a price, and that price is called transfer price. Generally, it will be cost plus profit. Cost plus profit. Now, is it real sales over here when you're transferring to the receiving division? The answer is absolutely no. Then why are you allowing that to happen? Because if supplying division doesn't sell it at a price, then the price minus cost will get the profit. Without having profit, how can I measure the performance of supplying division, and how can I assess whether it has really performed well or not, and how can I pay bonus? That's why I created all these things. So the output of the supplying division will be sold at a price called transfer price to the receiving division, and receiving division will buy it. So which means from this, what you have to understand, this particular transfer price is sales or revenue for the supplying division, and the same transfer price is cost for the receiving division. The transfer price is revenue for the supplying division. The same transfer price is cost for the receiving division. You got the point? Got it? Okay. Chalo. So the price at which intermediate goods of supplying division will be sold to the receiving division or the purchasing division is called transfer price. Clear? Very simple. So, so this is a whole story behind creation of something called transfer pricing. To measure the performance, I need profits. To have profits, I need to let my supplying division sell it at a price, and that price I'm going to call it as a transfer price. Now, friends, tell me one thing. If your supplying division and you know that transfer price is revenue for you, correct? What will be your mindset? You would like to increase it as much as possible, correct? And if your receiving division and if transfer price is cost for you because you're going to buy it from the supplying division, what will be your thought process? You would like to reduce it as much as possible, and that creates transfer pricing conflict, and that's going to be your biggest headache of this chapter. So we call it as, what do we call? Transfer pricing conflict. Supplying division would like to increase its revenue, therefore it always likes to increase the TP. Receiving division would like to reduce its cost, and because transfer pricing is cost for the receiving division, it would like to reduce its cost as much as possible. So the bargaining will be, this guy would like to increase it, this guy would like to reduce it, and thereby a fight will happen. And that we call it as a conflict, and we call it as transfer pricing conflict. And that is where in most of the cases you're going to solve this conflict between these divisions. You got the point? Anyway, fantastic. Now, okay, so what we have seen right now, there will be two divisions in any of these companies. One is supplying division, the other one is receiving division. And supplying division sells its output, that is intermediate product, to the receiving division at a price called transfer price. So the transfer price is artificially created one by way of cost plus profit. There are so many different methods also. Right now, just say it is cost plus profit. And supplying division sells it at a price. So the transfer price is revenue for the supplying division, and receiving division buys it. So this is a cost for the receiving division. Because it's a revenue for supplying division, it would like to increase its revenue as much as possible. So it wants transfer price to be high. Because transfer price is a cost for the receiving division, it would like to reduce its cost. Therefore, transfer price should be low for receiving division. The same transfer price should be high for supplying division. Is that clear? Fantastic. Right. That's the whole drama over here. Okay, now see you guys. I hope till here it's clear. Right. Yeah, we have some comments over here. Edibelli Manoj, sir, as in our live class, I missed pricing nations. You better message me, Nana. I hope that's the only way I can give you, my answer. Nihant Verma, only first 5 days it will be live in YouTube. Yes, of course it is. Meanwhile, if you want to get my classes, you have to WhatsApp me 9246946444. You can WhatsApp me and you can directly try to buy the classes. I'll tell you how to buy and all that. We can work it out over there. Hi, sir. This is Manoj Entertainment. I have a doubt. Hi, buddy. You better message me personal. Now I cannot explain you all the things. Okay. So we're in the live class. Anything else? I hope I've answered. Varun Raj Tama, sir, it is same as we done in departmental accounting in IPC or any difference? Are yeah, do not mix accounts with costing. They're totally different. Totally different. No, it's not the same. Okay. Costing is totally a different world, Nana. Okay. Anything else? Yeah. I hope I've cleared everything. Sabarinath, I hope I've answered his question. Anything else? Right. Chalo. Right. Anyway, fantastic. Now see you guys. Okay, so far we have understood what was the basic background. So initially there was centralized way of doing business that was making people inefficient. We found that the solution was decentralization, and as a result, we started seeing managers really working efficiently. And because of this whole decentralization concept only, we have created a concept called transfer pricing. How it has been created, what are the divisions inside a company, everything we have discussed: supply division, receiving division, and all that. Fantastic. Now, examples of interdivisional transfers, let us see. Which means from one division to another division, What are all the things that we are going to transfer? It can be goods. You can transfer goods from one division to another division at a transfer price. It can be service. It can be intangibles as well. That is patent, know-how, royalty. It can be loans as well. So generally, when we talk about interdivisional transfers, the only thing that comes into mind is goods, only goods, but it's not just goods. It is goods, services, intangibles, that is patent, know-how, royalty, as well as interdivisional loans. All these things will come into picture. All these things. But of course, everything is not there in our syllabus. In our syllabus, only goods and services are there, so we are lucky enough for that. But you need to understand that when I talk about transfer pricing, it can be for goods, it can be for services, it can be for intangibles, it can be for interdivisional loans. Got the point? Fantastic. Now, utility of transfer pricing, in the sense, why is that I have to read this concept called transfer pricing? In what way it is useful for me? Now, listen carefully, guys. Transfer pricing can be so broad. For example, you can have a company here, say for example in India, in Mumbai, and you can have another company, say for example in US. Still you can do transfer pricing, right? You can transfer from here to here. Maybe your supply division, the parent company is there in the US and the subsidiary company is there in India. In India itself, in one city you can have both the supply division and the receiving division. In India also you can have them in two different places, one supply division in Mumbai, receiving division in Chennai, something like that. So there are different possibilities. So there are various possibilities when it comes to transfer pricing. Please try to understand that. So a company in US, holding company, a subsidiary in India, a holding company in Mumbai, a subsidiary in Chennai, a holding company, I mean, in the sense, a supply division and receiving division both present in a single building in a single city is also possible. And when it comes to interdivisional transfers, I can transfer goods, I can transfer services, I can transfer intangibles, I can transfer interdivisional loans. What is there in my syllabus? Goods, services. Game over. Fantastic. Now, see here. Okay, what is the ultimate utility of transfer pricing? Now, that's one thing that we are going to see. Just a second, guys. Yeah. Okay, now, first thing, the first point that you have seen here, performance evaluation. So, what do you mean by performance evaluation? Listen carefully. The whole crux of the discussion right from today, right from the beginning of the session, was based on this performance only. I told you that in centralized way of doing business, people aren't performing well, and that's the reason we found a solution called decentralization, correct? So it's all about performance evaluation only. Because of transfer pricing, because of decentralization, because you have given target profits for each and every divisional managers, and because you said that if they perform well, you'll be giving them bonus, will that enhance your performance evaluation? Yes. Will it help in performance evaluation? Yes. Will it enhance your performance? Yes. And therefore, one of the basic utilities of fixation of transfer price is performance evaluation. Because of transfer price only, because you have fixed selling price for the supply division will also have a profit, and based on that profit, I'm going to evaluate the performance. Therefore, performance evaluation is one of the basic utilities of transfer pricing. If there is no transfer pricing, can I measure performance? Not possible. Because of transfer pricing only, you got a revenue for supplying division. Because of revenue only, you got a profit for supplying division. Because of profit only, you're able to measure the performance of the supplying division, which means performance evaluation is possible because of transfer pricing. Got the point? Clear? Next. Employee engagement and compensation. Will it be better? Yes. As an employee, because you said that I'll be getting bonus if I perform really well, I'm motivated, I'll perform really well, and thereby I'll engage myself more and I'll get more compensation, more bonus, more money, more incentives, more compensation. Simple. Next, resource allocation. Because of this understanding between supplying division and receiving division, what kind of understanding? I'm the supplying division, which means I'm going to supply you the intermediate products, and the receiving division is going to buy the intermediate products, and the transaction between these two will happen in such a way that there is something called goal congruence. What is that? I'll explain you later, which ultimately makes resource allocation the best. The best in the sense, just understand that resources will be utilized in the optimized manner. What is that? When we solve problems only, you'll understand. Right now, just have an understanding that, okay, fine, whatever the raw materials that you have got, whatever the labor resources that you have got, because of transfer pricing, they will be utilized or used in the best possible manner. That we call it as the optimum resource allocation, and that is also possible because of transfer pricing. Last but not least, taxation and profit remittance. What do you mean by that? Now listen carefully. So totally, what is the concept right now? We are looking at utility of transfer pricing, which means what is the ultimate use of transfer pricing? First point, performance evaluation. Correct? Because of transfer pricing, I'm able to measure the performance of the employees. Two, employee engagement and compensation. Because of transfer pricing, because you said that because of transfer pricing, I'm gonna pay you bonus or incentives. I got engaged more and I'm gonna get better compensation. Three, because of transfer pricing, all the resources that you have got, materials or labor or whatever it is, will be allocated in the best possible manner and there will be optimum utilization of resources. Got it? Last but not least, taxation and profit remittance. How transfer pricing is going to help this? I gave you an example over here. Listen carefully. Now, see, guys, I want you to listen carefully over here. Okay, meanwhile, we have got Satyavati Chede. Sir, I need SCMP power notes. Yeah, of course, you have to message me. You see the number over here, 9246946444. You can see it on the screen. Okay, you got to WhatsApp to that number, Nana, and you'll get the details. Yeah. Now, okay, now see here. Guys, listen carefully. You have subsidy 1 in United Kingdom, where the tax rate is 40%. You have subsidiary 2 in India, where the tax rate is 30%. This is clear. So what is the example? We have two subsidiaries, one in UK, other one is in India. In UK, the tax rate is 40%. In India, the tax rate is 30%. Clear? Right. The subsidiary one in UK is the supplying division. Listen carefully. You need to think and answer. You need to think and answer. The subsidiary division 2 is the receiving division, which is in India. Okay? Fantastic. Now, tell me whether the transfer price should be low or high here. They belong to the same company. There is a US based holding company. There is a US based holding company. One of its subsidiary is in UK, another subsidiary is in India. The holding company is in US. And in UK the tax rate is 40% and in India the tax rate is 30%. Got the point? So this is the whole scenario. Holding company in US, subsidiary 1 in UK with a tax rate of 40%, subsidiary 2 in India with a tax rate of 30%. Got it? Now my question is very simple. What will be your TP, transfer price? Will it be high or will it be low? You got to answer. What will be your TP? Will it be high or will it be low? Give me your answer. High or low? Yeah, you got to comment. High or low? Okay. I'll just give you some 5 seconds. Meanwhile, you guys just comment. I'll start with the answer. High or low? Satyavati, thank you very much, sir. Yeah, thank you, Nana. Of course. Aravind, okay. See, there is nothing called low in UK and all that. See, there is only one transaction that will happen between UK subsidiary and Indian subsidiary. UK subsidiary will transfer its goods to Indian subsidiary at a price. So there is single transfer price. Will it be high or will it be low is the question. It's not in UK or in India. Will it be high? Will it be low? There is only one transaction. One transaction happening between UK subsidiary and Indian subsidiary. UK subsidiary is the supplying company, supplying division. Indian subsidiary is the receiving one. So from UK subsidiary, it will be sent to Indian subsidiary. Got the point? And there is a holding company in the US. My question is, in the benefit of the company as a whole, transfer pricing should be low or high? That's my question. In the benefit of the company as a whole, transfer pricing should be low or high? You have seen the arrow mark and you're saying lower. Huh? Fellas? Chalo. Anyway, now see here. It's a simple thought process. See, first look at the tax rates, and that's why I told you how transfer. See why this point has come. Utility of transfer pricing, under utility of transfer pricing, you have a point called taxation and profit remittance, right? We are talking about that point. Why taxation and profit remittance comes under utility of transfer pricing is a discussion now. Let's look at the tax rates. In UK it is 40%. In India is 30%. Correct? Common sense tells you that everybody wants to pay low taxes. Obvious. Which means you would like to pay 40% or 30%. 30%. I want to pay less tax. Correct? If I want to pay less tax, then my profit in that particular lower tax area should be high so that I pay lesser taxes. Correct? I'll tell you both the possibilities. Suppose transfer pricing is high. Suppose transfer pricing is high. Then what will happen? The revenue for supplying division, that is S1 in UK, will be high. Transfer price is nothing but revenue for the supplying division. So revenue will be high. When revenue is high for UK's subsidiary division, profit also will be high. When profit is high, in that profit you'll be paying 40%. So for the holding company in US, it ends up paying 40% taxes, correct? If transfer pricing is low, transfer pricing is the cost for the Indian subsidiary. If transfer pricing is low, then the cost for the receiving division, that is the Indian subsidiary, will be low. When the cost for receiving division, that is the Indian subsidiary, is low, then the profit of the receiving division, that is the Indian subsidiary, will be high. Out of that high profits, I'll pay only 30% instead of 40%. You understand the point? So as a group point of view, for the company as a whole, which is better, paying 40% or paying 30%? Paying 30% is better tax. Paying 30% is better means your profit should be more in Indian subsidiary or UK subsidiary, Indian subsidiary. Because Indian subsidiary is a receiving division, how can I ensure that the profit is high in Indian subsidiary? By ensuring that transfer pricing is less. If transfer price is less, because my Indian subsidiary is a receiving division, it will buy the transfer pricing. I mean, it will buy the intermediate product at a transfer price. If the transfer price is less, it will buy at a lesser price, which means its cost will be less, which means the profit of Indian subsidiary will be high, which means out of that higher profit, it will pay only 30% instead of 40%. Therefore, in the group point of view, for a US holding company, it's better to have more profits for Indian subsidiary rather than UK subsidiary. Because if UK subsidiary gets more profits, it will pay 40%, whereas if Indian subsidiary gets more profit, it will pay only 30%, and therefore it wants Indian subsidiary to have more profits. And therefore, in this scenario, my friends, transfer pricing has to be low. I hope this is clear. One more interesting example. Listen carefully. Nana, we'll take the same example. I'm talking about profit remittance. See, generally, now taxation part is done. Already we have seen the example. What do you mean by this profit remittance? We can also call it as profit repatriation. What do you mean by that? See, you have KFCs in India, KFCs, McDonald's and all that. You know that they are American companies, correct? They come to India, they invest over here, create jobs, blah, 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 everything. They buy rupees and they sell dollars. That, appreciates the value of rupee and all these things. Okay, fine. Eventually, their whole idea is to earn profits, right? Once they earn profits, all these profits will be sent back to their mother country, which means that is US basically. So which means the money will flow from India to US, correct? So what we call it as profit remittance or profit repatriation. Now listen carefully. I'll take an example here and then I'll explain you the concept. How this profit repatriation is one of the utilities of transfer pricing, we'll try to understand. Now listen carefully, guys. See here. You have a US holding company. Holding company is in US. Subsidiary 1, China. Subsidiary 2, India. Okay. Now, Chinese company is the supplying division. Of course, now we are not going to get goods from China because obviously they are our enemy. There is no doubt in that. So here you have supply division, here you have receiving division. Are you able to understand? Now, tell me one thing, guys. You need to fix a transfer price over here. Supply division 1 in China is a supplying division and the Indian subsidiary will be receiving division, correct? Now the transfer price will be low or high is the question. Now this depends upon the rules of profit repatriation. So the parent company is in US, which means ultimately all the profits has to come back to US. Either it has to come from China or it has to come from India. Are you able to understand? Now let's say the rules in China with respect to profit repatriation is relatively simple. Easy rules in China. When I say easy rules in China, it means that it's easy to repatriate the profit. In other words, it's easy to remit the profit from China to US. If that's the case, now you tell me transfer pricing will be high or low. You understand the whole scenario here? Holding company in US, subsidiary 1 in China, subsidiary 2 in India. Chinese subsidiary is the supplying division, Indian subsidiary is the receiving division. So from Chinese subsidiary, the intermediate product has to be transferred to Indian subsidiary at a transfer price. Will it be high or will it be low is the question. If the profit repatriation rules when compared to India is easy in China. Now tell me, in the group interest, what we need to do? In the interest of the company as a whole, that is a US based company, what we have to do? Tell me, low or high? Yeah, you guys need to answer here, low or high. Come on, come on, come on. 5 seconds for you. Transfer pricing should be low or high? Yeah. You need to comment fast. Okay. Okay, right then. I'll go with the answer. Now see you guys. Okay, now see. Very simple, Nana. Subsidiary 1, that is in China, which is a supplying division, it has got easy rules, which means the US holding company would want the Chinese subsidiary to have more profit so that I can easily get back my money from China to US, correct? So if Chinese subsidiary needs to have more profit, then it is a supplying division, which means the transfer pricing has to be high. Are you able to understand? If the transfer pricing is high, then what will happen eventually? Transfer pricing is high, then what will happen eventually? The revenue of Chinese subsidiary will be high. When the revenue of Chinese subsidiary is high, the profit of Chinese subsidiary is high. When the profit of Chinese subsidiary is high, it's easy because the rules are easy. Easily, this profit will be remitted or repatriated all the way from China to US. So the final answer is the transfer pricing has to be high. Yeah, most of you are correct. Okay, some of you have become bumchick. Okay, most of you are correct. Moku fellows, it's high, it's not low. Okay, because simple logic, see, that's where you need to understand from the rules perspective. See, I have my Chinese subsidiary. You got it? And my Chinese subsidiary has got easy rules. Then it means that my Chinese subsidiary has got more profit. It's easy for me to get it back. In India, the rules are difficult. So if you keep your transfer pricing as low, then who will get benefited? The Indian subsidiary will get benefited because it purchased the goods at a lesser price. Transfer pricing is a cost for the Indian subsidiary because it's a receiving division. It purchases at a lesser price and then its profit will be high. Once its profit is high, then the rules are difficult not to repatriate from India to US. Therefore, US subsidiary will feel that my Chinese subsidiary should have more profit. Therefore, I will fix TP to be high. So just imagine how beautifully transfer pricing is getting influenced because of taxation rules, because of profit repatriation rules, and all that. Got the point? Right. Yeah, I hope everything is clear right now. So there are four utilities of transfer pricing. These are very important, guys. In fact, I don't know how many of you have understood the importance of transfer pricing. If you have a beautiful blend of knowledge of costing knowledge in transfer pricing plus taxation knowledge in transfer pricing, it is a very hot profile in Big Fours. I hope you guys know about Big Fours, right? Yeah, yeah, KPMG and all that. Anyway, E&Y, KPMG, yeah. So in Big Fours, basically what happens is transfer pricing is a very hot profile. All the companies, yeah, PricewaterhouseCoopers, everybody, PwC. So the basic point here is you should have costing knowledge as well as taxation knowledge that you will learn in direct taxes and international taxation. These two knowledge, if you're able to blend together, you will rock like anything, and its highest paid profile as well in Big Fours. So that's how important this particular chapter is, and even your examination perspective as well. This is a chapter where out of 4 attempts, 3 attempts compulsorily you will have a question in the exam for 10 marks. Are you able to understand? From that perspective, also, this is very important. Which one? Of course, the transfer pricing concept. You got the point? Anyway, chalo. So, what are the utilities of transfer pricing, Nana? Very simple. First one is performance evaluation, employee engagement and compensation, resource allocation, taxation, and profit remittance. One more time, guys. What are the utilities of transfer pricing? One, tell along with me, okay? Performance evaluation, employee engagement and compensation, resource allocation, taxation, and profit remittance. Ho gaya? Chalo, fantastic. Okay. Now we're gonna go with our first problem. No need of material for you. It's a very simple sum. You have it in your study material also. Very simple sum. So we'll start with it today and we'll end the session with this particular sum. Once we do this particular sum, you guys will really understand how different the new syllabus is. It's not about numbers, it's not about calculation, it's all about interpretation analysis. Okay, so you'll be able to understand. Chalo, now see here. This is the material that you guys will be receiving. You know that why I waited till yesterday night, guys. So I waited till yesterday night to get that confirmation, and today I'll be eventually dispatching your materials. Okay, that you have to communicate to me in WhatsApp, and we'll try to figure it out how to dispatch the materials and all that. Okay. You guys are ready? Where is this transfer pricing 57 to 67? Okay, first one, very small question. Question number one. I want all of you guys to concentrate on this question. Ready? Okay, now see you guys. With this question, we'll wind up the session today. Now, Division A produces goods at a cost of 10 per unit and transfers the goods to Division B, which has additional cost of 5 per unit. Division B sells externally at 16 per unit. The company has a policy of setting transfer price at cost plus 20%. Calculate profit of each division and the overall profit the company made, and write a brief analysis of the results. Okay. The first part of the question is usual even in the old syllabus as well. The second part of the question is what makes the new syllabus lot more different, and that's what I've been telling you right from the beginning of this session. It is purely logics, it is purely interpretation, and it is application oriented theory. So please try to understand that. Now read this question 2 times. Meanwhile, we'll start. Read the question, guys. Have the numbers with you. We'll start solving. Guys, if you want to register for this particular batch, for the blended live as well as the new recordings of Google Drive, absolutely new recordings, you got to WhatsApp to 924694644 and you can inform your friends as well. You take it directly from me, you'll get it at the best price. And so the you can WhatsApp or Telegram as well. And you make it fast because shortly we'll be closing the admissions. Okay. So that's the only number. We'll give you a Google Pay and Phone Pay number. That's how you have to eventually pay. If you have a credit card and stuff like that, we can work it out. That's not an issue. But anyway, I'm informing you, taking this as a platform. Okay. Chalo. So as you can see the number, it is 924694644. Done. If you're done with your reading, we'll start. You guys need to confirm me. Okay, right guys, now see here, listen carefully, very interesting sum. You may feel that the question is very small, but there's a lot to discuss, lot to learn. Okay, what is the question guys? You have division A as well as division B, correct? So I have division A and then I have division B. Okay, now, so what is happening over here? Division A produces goods at a cost of 10 per unit and transfers the goods to division B, which has an additional cost of 5 per unit. So which means, what is the cost for division A? 10 cost. What is the cost for division B? 5. Correct? That is what he has told you. Division B sells externally at 16 per unit. Okay. So division B sells externally at a selling price of how much here? 16. Correct? Ho gaya. What else? The company has a policy of setting transfer price at cost plus 20%. Okay. Policy of setting transfer price is what, Nana? Cost plus 20%. Okay. Now, who will set transfer price? Transfer price is the revenue for the supplying division. So, for supplying division, what is the revenue? Revenue is nothing but transfer price. How are you fixing your transfer price? Cost plus 20%. That's what has been given in the question. Now, what is your cost then? Cost plus 20%. What is your cost? Your cost is 10 plus 20%. Obviously, it is 12. So, the revenue will be 12, which is nothing but TP. So, the profit of division A will be 2. Correct? The profit of division A will be 2. And now listen carefully. What about division B? Division B will buy, because division B is a receiving division, it will buy the intermediate product from division A at transfer price, and that transfer price is nothing but 12. So this you call it as IP cost. What do you mean by IP cost? Intermediate product purchase cost. We call it as IP cost, intermediate product purchase cost. Then what is this 5 rupees? It is division B's own cost. It is division B's own cost, or we can also call it as further processing cost. You can call it as further processing cost, or you can also call that 5 rupees as division B's own cost. So generally receiving division will have 2 costs. Okay. Now tell me, what is the situation? 16 is the selling price. 12 rupees the IP cost. Own cost is 5 rupees. So the total cost is 17. Selling price is 16. So that gives you a loss of 1 rupee. So for the company, total. For the company, what is the profit? 1 positive. This is company's profit. That's it. Very simple, guys. Company's profit. Kya re? Aisa what, all of you? Yep. So division A sells its intermediate product to division B at cost plus 20%. Division A's cost is 10 rupees plus 20% profit markup will give you 12 rupees as the revenue. Minus cost is 10 rupees. Therefore, the profit is how much? 2 rupees. Done. Now, division B sells its product externally at a price of 16. It buys intermediate product from division A at transfer price, which is nothing but 12, plus division B incurs its own cost, which is 5. And finally, it ends up making a loss of 1. So finally, what's the final thing? The company as a whole, the profit is division A 2 rupees positive, division B 1 rupee negative. Total company's profit is 1 positive. This is the answer for the first part of the question. What is the first part of the question here? Profit of each division and the overall profit the company made. ये तो हो गया. Second question is the most important part. Now we are going to see. Write a brief analysis of the results. Now this is where I want you guys to use your brain to the fullest. Nana, in new syllabus, the most important point is analyzing the numbers. Every number will communicate a story. You need to catch the story. If you have got those skills, then you can play with the new syllabus. You understand the point? The skill that you have to get is analyzing the numbers. Now look at the numbers over here carefully and analyze what does these numbers tell you, because based on that only I need to write the points. Interpretation means by looking at the numbers only I need to interpret. I'll exactly give you 1 minute. I'll wait for 1 minute. You try to imagine points. Okay, what is their profit of division A is 2 rupees. What will happen? Division B is always is making a loss of 1. Okay, what will happen? Company's profit is 1. What will happen? So just try to think. What are all the points that comes to your mind? After that, I'll come with my own answer. You will try to understand what makes new syllabus special. Got the point? You have 1 minute. Starts now. If you have any points with you, you can comment as well. I'll be looking at the comments. Involve, Nana. Take it as a challenge. Involve. Take it as a challenge and try to think. Does these numbers tell you something? Carefully observe those numbers. These are all the skills you need to develop here. Only then your new syllabus is going to become easy. Okay. Look at those numbers and tell me. After that, anyway, I'm going to come out with an answer, but I'm giving you a chance. Take it as a challenge and put some points in the chart. You got 1 minute to go. I'll give you enough time. I'm not going to hurry you up. Think, and think. Okay. Hemalata Rajeshwaran, we got the first point. Profit percentage can be reduced so that division B at least does not show negative profit. Okay, good. Very good. Sudama Gupta, I think division B is loss creating unit. Array, that's easily visible here. What is the analysis that you can make? We know that division B is loss creating unit. We know that division A is profit creating unit. And overall, the company's profit is also positive. But the point is, what is the analysis out of it? If you suppose you are the owner of this particular company, what do you think because of this? What kind of problems will happen? See, always this is where, see, that's what I'm telling you. Always think as if you're running the business. And if you're the owner, what kind of problems you're going to face if this kind of situation happens in your company? Based on that, automatically you'll get the points. So you got to step into the shoes of the person who is creating the particular question. You need to step into the shoes over there and then feel that as if you're in that situation, then what will be the situation? Only then you'll get the points. Hemalata Rajeshwaran, division B cost structure need to be revised. You cannot revise cost structure just like that, Nana. Okay. And so we should invest in division A. Are both belong to your company only. What do you mean by investing in division A and leaving division B? It's your company eventually. It comes under single. It's inside the family. Anu, Division B is selling to direct market, hence they have set less price, but they are making profit by setting intercompany profit high. It's a good analysis, but see, I'm just trying to, I mean, I'm asking you to give me what kind of problems you're gonna face, not what is happening right now. Okay, but that's a good analysis. Anybody else? Anybody? Fatafat. Usha Revati. Division B, if possible, can purchase it from open market if it's less in the market. Awesome point. Claps for you. Claps for Usha Revati. Even Anu also fantastic point. Hemalata also fantastic. Usha Revati, actually you gave a point which is there in the answer. That's the beauty of it. Sudama Gupta, Division B taking more cost than A, and Division A profit is 20%, but Division B have loss. Again, very good point. Again, that's part and parcel of the answer. Very good. See, this is what you guys are gems actually. You will get answers. Varun Tej, there is favorable situation like low tax rate, etc. for Division A when compared to Division B. It's a valid point only, but see, it's not a, unless they are in different countries. So there was nothing told in the question that Division A is in different country, Division B is in a different country. Point number one. Point number two, when something is not told in the question, we cannot go for such a kind of imagination. Okay. Although your point is valid based on the presumption that these guys stay in different companies, I mean, sorry, different countries. Okay, but you see, two of you gave me points which are straight away present in the answer. So that's beautiful. Anybody else? Yeah, you're coming out with very good points, and I really appreciate. See, this is what the point is. You are capable of thinking. The problem is you just need that confidence. Okay. Yeah, fantastic. Now see. Okay. If you are ready, I'll start. Anybody else? Anybody else who want to comment? That's it. That's it, guys. Chalo, fantastic. Okay, now I see how many points we're gonna make. Right, guys? Okay. Now, ready? Okay. First, we'll start with profit percentage. See, I'm gonna explain you the concepts over here, and I've written the answer over here clearly. Okay. From here, you can write the notes and all that. So don't worry about that. Tomorrow, we'll be thinking about writing notes and all that. Right now, just concentrate on the concept. Now, listen carefully, all of you. First, profit should be shared between both divisions to keep them motivated. Code is Varan. Again, a valid point. Very good. Chalo, now see. First, let us calculate profit as a percentage. Profit as a percentage. See here carefully, guys, carefully. It is 20% on your interdivisional transfers. Interdivisional transfers. Kodiswaran, else division will be demoralized. Very good, valid point. Now let's see what is a profit that the company is earning from its external customers. Your external selling price is 16, correct? Total cost for company. Total cost for company is 10 rupees of division A from company's point of view. 5 rupees for division B. Total cost for company is 15. So the profit is 1. Which means what is the percentage? 1 profit as a percentage. 1 divided by 15. Yeah. 6.67%. Okay. Now you see what's happening here. When you are doing interdivisional transfers, you are allowed to charge. I mean, supply division is charging 20%, correct? On cost. Whereas the company is actually getting 6.67% on its cost when it's selling to the external market. So, from this, I can draw two conclusions. Listen carefully. Notes, I told you I have prepared here clearly. All the points I've written. Don't worry about the notes. This is the way you have to present it in the examination hall. Right now, just concentrate on the concept. internal markup is 20%, external markup is 6.67%. What are the conclusions that we can derive? Now here, please try to concentrate. Either 20% should be correct or 6.67% should be correct. If 20%, if you say that 20% markup is correct, that is the internal markup, then you better revise your external selling price. If you feel that internal markup of 20% is correct, then you better revise your external selling price, because right now your selling price is fixed based on the logic of 6.67% on cost. You revise that to 20% so that your external selling price will be revised, it will increase, thereby division B will make some profits. 2. Second conclusion. Let's say that 6.67% is correct. Then you better revise your internal markup. You don't keep it as 20%, you better make it as 6.67% as well. Either way, the problem will be solved. If you feel internal markup of 20% is correct, then you better change the external markup. If you feel external markup of 6.67% is correct, then you better change the internal markup. In either of the cases, problem is solved. Got it? This is first analysis. We have got 2 points over here. Point number 2. Now look at these numbers over here. So first point ho gaya. Division A will always make profit. Division B will always make loss. If this situation continues, correct? As very rightly pointed out by Kodiswaran, division B will be demoralized, disappointed. Because whatever I do, I always make losses. So there is no question of motivation for me. Why? Because there is no question of bonus for me. When I make losses, where is the question of bonus? Whereas division A will always be making profit. So therefore, division B will be demoralized and he will lose his efficiency, which means further it will make losses, which means it is not good for the company. This is one loss. So in the second point, what I have to write, division B will lose motivation. And if division B loses motivation, it's even bad for the company, because further the performance will drop and your loss will increase. At the same time, division A may become inefficient. You can ask me, how is that possible? How is that division A can become inefficient? Are use your common sense here. I am division A. How am I getting my profits? My cost is 10 rupees. Upon cost, you are adding markup of 20%. And thereby my selling price is 12 rupees. And thereby I am getting a profit of 2 rupees. Correct? I would love to be inefficient. I would love to increase my cost. More the cost, more will be the markup, more will be the selling price, more will be my profit. Na? Why would I be inefficient? Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? So, if at all there is any cost reduction possibility, cost control possibility, division A will not be motivated to do all those things. I better want my cost to increase, so that more the cost, more will be the 20% add on, and more will be my selling price, more will be my profit, which is again bad for the company. So from this, what you have to understand is, if existing this particular TP, that is cost plus 20%, continues, both division A and division B, both of them will not perform well. Division A will not perform well because it will become more and more inefficient, because in any of the cases it will get profit. And division B, because it's continuously facing losses, it will get demoralized, disappointed, and thereby it will lose its existing efficiency as well, which will further dig up into losses. In both the cases, it's a double negative blow for the company. Got it? This is your point number 2. Okay. So then what is a solution? What is a probable solution? The first probable solution is, advise division A. Advise division A. Array, you better look out for some cost control and cost reduction techniques. and thereby reduce your cost. Right now it is 10 rupees now, reduce it from 10 to 9 or 10 to 8, thereby 8 plus 20%, then your selling price or transfer price will get reduced, thereby the transfer price of division A will be cost for division B, it will be reduced. Are you able to understand? Now let's say in this case 8, we are adding 20%, so it will be 1.6. So 9.6 will be your transfer price. So it is 9.6 plus 5. 9.6 will be TP plus 5 will be further processing cost. 14.6 will be your total cost. 16, which means 1.4 positive profit will be there for division B, if division A can reduce its cost. That is one solution. You understand the point? Fourth one. Division A may not reduce its cost. In that case, division B may look out for alternatives. That is, we are talking about external buyer. See, if division B complains that, "Arey yaar, this guy is selling to me at 12 rupees, 10 rupees plus 2 rupees, 12 rupees, and because of the 12 rupees, I am already incurring 5 rupees upon that. 17 rupees is my cost, and my selling price is only 16 rupees. Thereby, continuously, I'm making loss. I'm losing my demotivation." Then, as a company, what you can say is, "Okay, buddy, division B, you may try to buy from outside if it is available at a lesser price." Now tell me, this sort of an advice by the company to division B, allowing the receiving division, that is division B, to buy from outside instead of from division A, is it good or bad? It's good in all perspectives. You can ask me, how, sir? If company has asked division B, that is receiving division, to buy from external market, that is from outside vendor, instead of somebody within the company, that is division A, it is good. You are saying in all situations it is good. Yes, it is good. Why? I'll tell you the reason. Right now, listen carefully. Listen carefully. See, all these are analysis and interpretation. So listen carefully. Right now, division B is buying from division A at a price of 12. This is the TP. Right now, you agree? Right now, the price is 12, at which division B is buying from division A. If it buys from outside, there are two possibilities. If it buys from outside, there are two possibilities. One, the external buying price, EBP means external buying price, can be more than TP. It can be 13. It can be more than the existing price at which you are buying from division A, or it can be less than the existing buying price. Correct? Right now, division B is buying at 12 rupees, Nana, from division A. If it tries to buy from outside, what are the possibilities, Nana? Either it can be greater than 12 or it can be less than 12. Correct? In both the cases, it is good for the company. How is that possible? I'll tell you. Suppose if the price is 13. Suppose if the price is 13. What price? External buying price. When external buying price of the similar product is 13 rupees, it means that your division A is selling you at a lesser price called 12. It means your division A is efficient than the market. It means your division A is efficient than the market. It means the problem is with division B only. Therefore, division B has to improve its efficiency. Khel khatam. You have come to a conclusion. Suppose 11 is the external buying price. It means that your division A is not efficient. It means that division B will start buying from outside because it is coming at 11. Then division A has got nobody to sell. Then division A will be forced to improve its efficiency, thereby reduce the cost, thereby reduce the selling price to 11, and thereby compete with the external buyer, external vendor, to transfer to division B. That is also good for the company, na? Because division A's efficiency has got increased. That's why I told you, when the head office or the company advises division B to buy from outside, it's good in all perspectives. So there are only two possibilities, 13 and 11. If it is 13, division B's efficiency will be increased. If it is 11, division A's efficiency will be increased. What's wrong is happening to the company. In both the cases, it's positive only now. You see the analysis and interpretation. This is new syllabus. Understand the point? This is new syllabus. Okay, chalo. Anyway, now fantastic. So what are the points? See here, basically when I'm explaining you these points, some of the points have been taken from your ICS study metal answers only, because of course your answer has to tally with the key, only then you'll get marks. But at the same time, that should not stop you from thinking. If you have some additional points, right, let your brain think. Do not restrict yourself. The problem with students is when they practice these kind of questions, the moment they see the questions, immediately they see the answer of the ICS study metal. When you see the answer of ICS study metal immediately, then you are restricting your thought process. Na? When will you get new points then? Then if suddenly a new question has been lifted from international author book and then it has been given to you, how will you solve it in the exam? Because you are solving it for the first time. Therefore, train your mind. Do not look at the solution. Whatever that comes to your mind, you try to do it. Even if it comes some additional points, it's good. Na. That's what happens in my class. Always in every question, there will be some additional points, because I feel that those are all even better. You can write. It doesn't mean that, see, if there are 4 points in your ICS study medley, you should restrict yourself to 4 points. Is there a rule like that? No, this is not law. Costing is not law. Costing is a universal subject. There is no law. Are you able to understand? It is not law. You are free to think. You are free to think. That's why it is my favorite subject, because there is no restrictions, there is no limitation in your thought process. Your mind should be open and you are free to your thoughts. You have 100% freedom. No other subject you have this. Please try to understand that. You got the point? So what are all the points that you have made finally? Okay, let's revise it over here. See you guys. I've written the notes. Tomorrow I'll allow you guys to copy. Right now just listen. We'll wind up the session over here. Profit percentage, we are revising. Listen carefully. Revising here. Profit percentage on external sales. Total cost for the company is 15. Profit is 1. How did I get that? Variable cost is 10 for division A. Variable cost is 5 for division B. Total cost is 15 and the profit is 1 rupee, because external selling price is 16. So 6.67% is the profit on external sales. Profit on internal transfer, 20%. So what was the conclusion? If external markup of 6.67% is considered fair, if you say it is correct, then you better revise the internal markup. If you say 6.67% is correct, then you revise 20% and make it 6.67. On the other hand, if you feel that 20% is correct, then you better revise your external selling price and you increase your external selling price. Thereby, your profit markup on external selling price will increase from 6.67% to 20%. If you say this is correct, you change that. If you say that is correct, you change the simple logic. Got it? Next. Because division A gets profit as a markup on cost, that is 10 plus 20%. Cost is 10. The manager of division A shall not be showing interest, shall not be interested, or shall not be showing any sort of interest to reduce or control the cost, which creates a goal conflict. Now, again a keyword. Again a keyword. See, when my selling price is cost plus profit, will I be showing interest to reduce my cost? If I reduce my cost, then my profit as a percentage on cost also will be reduced. Then my revenue also will get reduced. Then my profit also will get reduced. Correct? Huh? So therefore, if I am manager of division A, I will not show any interest to reduce or control the cost, which creates a goal conflict. What do you mean by goal conflict? Listen carefully. It's a keyword. Goal conflict means if you are taking individual decisions which are not in the interest of the company as a whole. If divisional managers are taking individual decisions which are not in the interest of the company as a whole, which are against the interest of the company as a whole, we call it as a goal conflict scenario. Keyword. If individual divisional managers take decisions which are in the interest of the company as a whole, then it is called goal congruence. Goal congruence. So, when individual divisional managers' decision or in the interest of the company as a whole, we call it as goal congruence. When individual managers' decisions are against the interest of the company as a whole, we call it as a goal conflict. Clear? I hope it's clear. So therefore, if you are not trying to reduce the cost because your divisional profits will be affected, then you are going against the interest of the company only. Because company wants you to reduce the cost, because company wants company's profit to be increased. Company's profit will be increased only as a division A if you reduce your division's cost, and you are not doing it because of your selfishness, which means it is creating goal conflict. Clear? Now, also due to continuous losses, division B manager may lose motivation. He may get demoralized and may become even more inefficient, which will further create another goal conflict situation. Goal conflict means again this will not be in the interest of the company. Again, this will not be in the interest of the company. Got the point? Fantastic. This we have already discussed. We are just revising it. Next. So the company may ask division B to look out for external supplier for its intermediate product. That is what we have seen. Then division A and external supplier will compete with each other, okay, each other to sell to division B, which will indirectly increase or enhance the efficiency of division A. This we have already seen here. See here. I've clearly explained you here. What did I explain you? If you allow division B to buy from the external vendor, there are two possibilities. Either he will sell it at a price higher than the existing price of the interdivisional transfer, which is 12 rupees. Either the price can be high or the price can be low. If the price is high, if outside division B is able to buy at 13 rupees, then it means that division A is already selling at 12, which means division A is efficient. When division A is efficient, then the problem is with the division B, then therefore division B has to increase its efficiency, which ultimately it will, thereby it's good for the company. Second possibility is outside vendor can sell you at a price of 11 rupees, which is less than the transfer price, which is 12, which means in outside, if it is available at 11, and internally your supply division is transferring at 12, which means your supply division is inefficient. Therefore, the receiving division, that is division B, will start buying from outside at 11 rupees only. Then division A will sell to whom? Presuming that it doesn't have any external market. Even it can't sell to outside market also, because outside it is available at 11 now. Division A cannot sell to outside because outside it is available at 11. It cannot sell at 12. Neither it can transfer internally because my division B is buying from outside at 11 itself. Therefore, division A ka khel khatam ho gaya. Now, division A has got no other choice but to improve its efficiency, thereby reducing the selling price from 12 to 11 in order to survive, which is good for the company only, na? So, if it is 11, division A will increase its efficiency. If it is 13, division B will increase its efficiency. Tell me, in both the cases, is it good for the company? Yes. Is it creating goal congruence? Yes. Anything that is good for the company is like creating goal congruence. Anything that is bad for the company is like creating goal conflict. Are you able to understand? That is what I've written here. The company may ask division B to look out for external supplier for its intermediate product. Then the division A and the external supplier will compete with each other to sell to division B, which will indirectly increase the efficiency of division A. Here I've covered only the efficiency of division A part. You can also cover division B's part efficiency also. In case if division B is buying from outside, and if the external buying price is greater than the internal transfer price, it means division A is efficient and division B is inefficient. Therefore, division B should increase its efficiency. Got it? You see, the question seemed to be very small. Now tell me how much of interpretation of the question we have made. This is new syllabus. I hope you guys have got clear idea on this. Right, buddies? So with this, we will finish off the first day session. Before I close this session, if you got any doubts with respect to how to buy the classes, this altogether new recording, Nana, the Google Drive, whoever buys from tomorrow and whoever has bought in the pre-booking they have done pre-booking at a lesser price. I gave that offer, and for them and the people who are gonna buy from tomorrow and all that, you're gonna receive the new recordings. Is that clear? Of course, you'll start receiving it after 3 days, and this is going to be, as you have seen, it's completely new session and things are going to be completely new. I'm gonna revamp a lot of things, a lot of content. So that's it from my side, guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed this session. Next 4 days, it's gonna be YouTube live the same way, okay? But after that, it's gonna be on Google Drive. So any doubts you have got, anything that you want to talk to me regarding how to purchase and all that, you can WhatsApp me. That is 9246946444, or you can Telegram me as well. Or normal message also chalta hai. Okay, I'll tell you how to buy and all that. Of course, I told you so many times already. I don't want to repeat it again. And that's the way it works. Go ahead, guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed the first day of the session. The first 1 week, we're gonna go with concepts, step by step, slowly. And tomorrow onwards, you will write the notes along with me and you'll be getting all the materials. Today, I'm gonna dispatch for all the people who have already pre-booked. And There it is, right? So thank you so much, guys. Uh, Palak Mangal sir, please post this video on YouTube. Yes, it will be on YouTube only, Nana. So don't worry. This will be on YouTube. Anybody else? Thank you for fantastic participation, guys. You guys were awesome. And anything else you want to talk to me, you can just post. Sunzam Venugopal, yeah, Nana, I told you 70%, 60 to 70% it will be relevant for old syllabus also. But the problem is, we'll not be covering OR except for 2 chapters. That is linear programming as well as learning curve. That's the problem with new syllabus. Rest of that, yes, it's going to be, yeah, relevant. Okay, Anu, thank you, sir. Thank you so much, Nana. Thank you, Anu. Diksha, thank you, sir. Thank you. Yep. It was a great session, guys. Okay. Hemalata, thank you, sir. Yes. Anything you want to, communicate, you can communicate to 92469 Yep. Many people are having this doubt. That's why I've been repeating this number. I hope it's visible for you on the screen as well. Kodiswaran, thanks. Thank you. Right. Let's wind up.